With the recent performance patch for God of War on the PlayStation 5, many people started to playing this game again, and I thought it is time to talk about the best HDR settings and why it is not a good idea to use HGiG. And as always, before we start, I have a big favor to ask. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe now. It is absolutely for free, but you can help me to grow my channel. Thank you very much. And we start with the good news first. Even you activate HDR on your LG, there is no increasement in terms of black rays or gamma rays on your TV. On my TV, I couldn't find anything, and I tested this in a complete dark room. So that means brightness level 50 on your LG CX will deliver you the best experience to play this game. Let's talk about the bad news. God of War does not support HGiG natively, and it does not support the internal PlayStation 5 HDR calibration. That means it doesn't matter what you set in this menu, there is no difference at all in the game. To show you why you shouldn't use HGiG in God of War, I chose this location or this part of the game, and this is just one example of many what I found in the game. And don't get me wrong, there are also examples where HGiG is doing a little bit of a better job than dynamic tone mapping. But overall, my overall experience in God of War was that HGiG is not really to recommend in my opinion. So let's have a look here. You have a nice picture of this mountain. We are in dynamic tone mapping on, and the settings from the internal HDR settings are untouched. This is still the standard, okay? Default setting is 50/50, and of course HDR is enabled. And we have this nice picture. Very nice details. You can clearly see there's a mountain, there are some clouds here as well. And now we're changing this to HGiG, and the whole picture is absolutely blown out, washed out. You can't, I mean, I can clearly see the mountain here where it starts, but I don't have the clouds here. I can't actually not really see any details anymore. This is very, very bad. Very, very bad. So, and this is just one example how dynamic tone mapping is working better over HGiG. To get the same level of details in HGiG compared to dynamic tone mapping in the internal HDR settings from the game, you have to set the brightness level from 50 to 30 to get this picture. Now, HGiG is showing exactly the same details as dynamic tone mapping. In most of the games, dynamic tone mapping is much brighter than HGiG, and this is just because of how dynamic tone mapping is actually working. In this case, when we're reducing now the brightness from 50 to 30 to meet the same level of details compared to dynamic tone mapping, this is the brightness in HGiG what we're ending up with. And this is very, very dark. Compared to dynamic tone mapping and the right brightness settings on the game or in the game, this is just not looking correct. It looks washed out. The contrast is not correct. The colors are looking not correct. It is just really not nice to play. Okay, my conclusion and summary for God of War and HDR is use dynamic tone mapping on. Leave the settings to 50 and 50, brightness 50, contrast 50, because for me it was the best experience on my LG CX. But of course this depends on your TV as well. If you use these settings, I have this picture. I got this perfect, nice, really HDR picture. Really nice brightness compared to HGiG. We can show this again. That's HGiG, that's dynamic tone mapping. It is a very, very big difference in God of War. And don't get me wrong, I'm actually or really a big fan of HGiG, but in this case, in case of God of War, no way. It is just not the same experience, okay? You lose a lot of details when you look here, a lot of brightness, and unlikely to other games, it will not over brighten the game, or you will not lose, in my opinion, a very nice contrast when you change it to dynamic tone mapping. It's really very nice. Okay, again, that's my conclusion, that's my recommendation. Use dynamic tone mapping over HGiG in God of War and you're good to go. Yeah, and that's it for this video. So I say thank you very much for watching me. Please leave me a comment what you think about this game and the HDR implementation. In my opinion, it is a very nice HDR picture compared to SDR. You see lots of more details. but it is maybe not the best implementation what I have seen so far. Okay, so anyway, that's for this video. Thank you very much for watching me. I see you next time. Bye.